All right, you ready, Greg? Okay. All right, well, once again, welcome to the November meeting. November. Everybody have a good Veterans Day?
Yeah, free breakfast, man.
Free breakfast? You were JJ?
No.
No, I was home.
Casey.
Oh, all right.
I don't understand that one.
Oh, right on. All right, so quickly on the airplanes, 28 Fox. We put it through its 100-hour inspection. We found a bad cylinder. The cylinder has been replaced, and we're going to do a test flight on it, and then we're going to do a 25-hour break-in on it. So that's the 28 Fox. 60 Romeo, nothing to brief. 50 Echo, we tried to fly it this weekend. The battery was dead, so now the battery is charged and it's back on the line, ready to fly. 84 November, it had 50 hours complete, and JJ and Casey are going to take it tomorrow to pick up 63 Tango. 273s, fine. The only thing noted recently was had a nose wheel shimmy on landing. So if you fly it and that happens, and I've spoken to Will, and I'm not exactly sure if he's got to it yet, but it's still flyable, but just know that it's possible that it may have a nose wheel shimmy.
Do you know what's causing that? Any idea?
It might be the shimmy dampener.
Rookie pilots landing on the nose.
Well, rookie pilots landing on the nose.
Just hold the nose off, you don't really need it.
I agree, that's right. That's all I did, I just
Like
pulled back
your-
and it quit.
Kind of like a tail dragger, but then drag.
Just like a tail dragger. 011 still down for autopilot, and we did confirm that the vacuum pump, I think, is bad, so that'll probably be down for the rest of the month. As you know, 63 Tango, they finished up the overhaul. The engine's installed, it's sitting in the hangar waiting for Casey and JJ to pick it up tomorrow. So once again, normal discussion items. If you got anything you can take care of currency-wise or PIF-wise, go ahead and take care of them, please sign them off. We also, you noticed it's getting cold outside. So, just for the pilots, plan on your pre-flight being a little bit longer, because you might have to pre-warm the aircraft. And just double check and make sure you guys are taking care of the airplanes and giving them a little bit more time because it is cold. We'll do everything we can to make sure the airplanes are hangared for the early morning goes. If anybody wants to, we'll try to make sure that happens for the frost and for the batteries. We don't really want to replace all the batteries again. So the safety gram, did everybody get the safety gram this month? Everybody read it? What do you guys think about it? Anybody got any comments?
Don't run into other planes. There's your comment.
Well, not only that, so they were talking about flight clearing, right? And they were talking, in the end, if they either each one of them done a clearance turn or clearance maneuver, they would have probably seen the other guy. And then I'm not a medical guy, so I don't know exactly what drugs they had in their system. The one individual, but they said it could have caused, was like sleepiness or something like that. So I don't know if you guys can elaborate on that, what they were had.
Don't take drugs and fly.
That's the other one.
The FAA has a list of medications that you can take and fly. And if it's not on there, don't fly.
Sir?
Just a couple of questions. Anybody here routinely fly formation flight?
We don't fly formation.
Are we allowed to formation fly?
No.
No.
Okay,
Refer to the SOP for that answer.
I already did. So,
We want to make sure we do.
the discussion about that and the findings, in my opinion, were a little bit off. I was an Army Aviation Safety Officer for many, many years. Flew a lot of formation. So, to join up, to do a formation join up in the scenario that was listed, first we'll start with a comprehensive brief. I didn't read anything about a comprehensive brief. Nobody looked at each other in the eyes, so if they were okay or whatever. Secondly, you would never join up in a traffic pattern. You would join up on the ground or in the air away from the airport. And then what you would do is you would establish what we in the Army call a chalk order. You're one, I'm two, he's three. And then you would determine what kind of formation you're going to join up in. Trail, echelon, V's, things like that. You brief that all on the ground before you even took off. So we're going to meet up 5 miles over that way. So everybody's going to head off. So you're not going to start doing maneuvers in the traffic pattern.
Right.
That was crazy.
I agree.
That was just crazy.
Well,
Really,
it sounded
really-
to me like it was this happening.
Yeah.
So if the vision was this way on both airplanes, they never saw each other until it was too late.
That's right.
So what does it tell you? In the pattern, you gotta be this way to that way.
That was just it. It was just terrible.
And so some of the two questions that were on there, what does the AFI 34 Wood 52 say about pattern entry and procedures? Pilots must self-announce pattern position on downwind, base, and final leg using the phraseology recommended in the Aeronautical Information Manual. And what does the FAA say about see and avoid procedures?
Vigilance, so you can see the void, and if you have to give way, and you don't pass over, under, or ahead of another aircraft until you're well clear.
General weather, when weather conditions permit, regardless of weather or operation, an operation be conducted under instrument flight review, flight rules, or visual flight rules, vigilance shall be maintained by each person operating an aircraft so as to see and avoid other aircraft. When a rule of this section gives another aircraft the right of way, the pilot shall give way to that aircraft and may not pass over, under, or ahead of it unless wrong. So now that we all know that, so basically just keep an eye out, right? So right now, I'm gonna turn it over to Casey, who's our safety officer, and he's gonna have your safety video, which is winter flying cold temperatures, pre-flight tips.
All right, so, touching on what you already talked about with the preheat, do you guys all know how to use the preheater here? I know some of you guys are new yet, but do you, for the most part, know how to use the preheater? Yes, no, nod of heads?
Yes.
Okay. No, okay. Well, if you need somebody to show you how to do it, I'm here, there, everywhere. I'm usually around base, so get my contact, or if you got Mac's number, you can contact me and I'll help you figure it out. Once you go through it, once you can figure it out, there's also instructions on there of how to do it, but it's always good to have somebody around for the first time. But yeah, that's part of the cold weather topic. And for this month, as far as tower stuff goes, we have a new thing called consolidated wake turbulence. It's a thing that Philly is doing, Patuxent's doing, and now we're doing. It's a FAA implemented plan to reduce separation. So it's not building how much separation you're going to have, but to us as general aviation aviators here at the Aero Club, nothing really changes. So if you hear anything about it, don't really worry about it. You're still going to get your time behind a 757 and heavy jet. It's all pretty much the same for us. But for the heavy jets, they're going to be flying a lot tighter now with this consolidated wake turbulence thing that's going on. The FAA is going to be here to train us on the 3rd and 4th. So you might hear a little bit of confusion going on in the tower. Come the 17th, that's the implementation date. It's wonderful technology they're doing. It's going to be built into our radar as well. It goes on the strips, labels everything. It's all broken down a little bit different. So with everything new, there's always that learning curve. But that's consolidated wake turbulence for us. We're also on training crews up there. So if you're flying during the week, which most of us are, between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m., 9 times out of 10 you're going to be talking to a trainee up there. So if you hear something that doesn't quite sound right, question it. Don't ever be afraid to question it, even with the controllers up there that aren't trainees. Complacency sets in, and that's the next thing, right? So on Saturdays and Sundays when the rest of you fly, we're on minimum manning. So it might be me and one other guy sitting up there for 8 hours staring at stones out on the runway, and then you come along, and that complacency is there. So don't be afraid to ask questions. And this month is fire and ice is our topic. So we're going to go ahead with a video here. So get here's your video. Come on. Maybe if I hit the right button, how about that?
The winter months can bring beautifully smooth, dense air that truly makes flying enjoyable. Unfortunately, the same cool temperatures that make the air smooth can also present various challenges to pilots of all general aviation aircraft. Extra care must be taken to ensure that the aircraft is safe to fly, and this usually means spending extra time outside in the elements. So dress appropriately for the cold temperatures. Keeping your aircraft properly maintained is the first step to ensuring the aircraft is ready to fly. Have your AME specifically check the cabin heating system before the cold weather sets in. Any cracks in the system can allow carbon monoxide to enter the cabin, and since carbon monoxide cannot be smelled, it's a serious threat to the safety of your flight. Also be sure to keep an up-to-date carbon monoxide detector in the aircraft. Although always a critical component of a safe flight, a walk-around is especially important when the weather hits, particularly if the aircraft is left outside or in an unheated hangar. Frost, ice, and snow can easily make their way into places where they shouldn't be. The engine breather tube is often not checked as part of a standard visual inspection. In fact, many pilots are unable to show where it's located on their aircraft. Should the breather tube be blocked with freezing moisture, it can result in a loss of engine oil. Talk to your AME about how to properly inspect the breather tube and any other aircraft-specific equipment that you're not familiar with. Be careful to inspect all the critical surfaces, especially the hinges and cables on the control surfaces to ensure they have full and complete uninhibited movement. Remember that the cars mandate that all critical surfaces are to be free of contaminants. Even a thin layer of frost is not allowed and must be removed prior to flight. The braking system is especially prone to malfunction while operating in colder temperatures. The wheel pants, although nice to look at, are difficult to inspect underneath and can easily become filled with snow and ice. The fuel system of a typical light aircraft is usually fairly simple. However, it's also prone to failure if not understood and inspected properly. Pay extra attention to the fuel caps, ensuring that they're not bent or damaged, allowing water and other contaminants to enter the fuel tanks. If they are vented caps, make sure they're not blocked by ice that could prevent them from being able to do their job in the event the fuel vent becomes blocked. If there's water in the tanks, be extra vigilant to ensure it's completely removed. Even a small amount of water entering the fuel line and freezing can completely cut off the engine's fuel supply. Finally, a cold-soaked engine is not fit to be started. Any engine that has been exposed to temperatures below -7 degrees Celsius, including the wind chill factor, should be thoroughly preheated. Consult your POH for specific recommendations from your aircraft manufacturer. Preheating will ease the starting process, but it also helps to prevent unnecessary wear and damage to the engine. If the engine is started without being properly preheated, the oil can congeal, preventing proper flow throughout the engine. If a heated hangar is not available, an electric low-voltage preheat system is the next best option. A low-voltage system that heats both the oil sump as well as the engine cylinders, along with a thick engine cover or blanket, can adequately heat the engine to proper pre-start temperatures. Although this method takes a long time to be effective, if you plan ahead and plug the aircraft in the night before your flight, it will ensure the airplane is ready to start when you arrive. One last option is to use an external blower-type engine heater. This, however, is the most abused method of preheat, as the engine is often only superficially heated. Be careful not to heat just the cylinders. The heat should be directed to the engine's sump and lines as well as the cylinders. A superficial application of preheat can result in engine damage. It may be enough to get the engine started, but it will not decongeal oil in the sump or lines, and a lack of lubrication may result, which can cause a complete engine failure shortly after the application of a high power setting. Above all, don't be in a rush to get airborne. Take your time to do things right and ensure your aircraft is truly airworthy. And that way, you'll be better able to enjoy the smooth, dense air of the winter months.
All right, so there you have it. Anybody got comments on that?
We leave the nose plug in.
Yes.
Heat from down underneath.
Exactly, so that's one thing that is not in the instructions on the heater out there in the shed, is exactly what JJ said. The way they were heating there through the air vents on the front of the cowling, we don't do that. We leave the plugs in and you go from the bottom of the cowling and blow that heat up, and it heats the sump and it rises, right? And it keeps that heat inside. And pro tip too, open the cabin air or the cabin heat, and you heat the cabin too. Let it heat for maybe 25 minutes or so, depending on how cold it is. But usually anytime under 40 degrees, we want to put preheat on it, because some of the A models, which one of them we got rid of, would not start if it was under 40 degrees and didn't get heat on it. So anywhere around freezing, you want to definitely be using preheat. The one thing they didn't talk about was over priming on cold starts. So here you go, you're out at say Georgetown for the weekend and you don't have heat available, and it doesn't start the first time. So we prime it again, we try it again, we wait a minute, we prime it again, we give it another one. Next thing you know, you got cylinders full of fuel and you're prone to an engine fire. So that's one thing you gotta watch for in the winter. IT touched on it already, battery drainage. We had that problem last year. De-ice, when, how, and how not to apply it. You guys know anything about de-ice? Our de-ice fluid, what we use?
Put it on the windows.
There you go. Don't put it on the windows. Anybody else?
Why
No?
not? Why's one you put on the windows?
It's gonna smear, makes a mess,
Yeah, but
crazing.
yeah. It
Yes,
ruins
it
the
doesn't
glass,
like-
it ruins the window. It's ruined it, you put the, glycol on there.
Yep, so he just said it too, that's what we use, right? We use glycol and water, it's a 50-50 mix. It's already pre-mixed for us in the shed out there. Every aircraft here has a set of keys that has access to the fuel pump and the shed. The shed is where the heater's at, and the glycol's in there in a little pump container. We have frost on the wings, we're not gonna depart with frost on the wings. We have a thin layer of ice on the wings, we're not gonna depart with a thin layer of ice on the wings. So I'm gonna say use your best judgment in that. You know, if it's been icing for 2 days and you have a 1/4 inch of ice out there on the airplane, the taxiway is probably gonna be closed anyways, so you're probably not going anywhere. But obviously, we're not gonna put glycol and water out there on the wings to de-ice a 1/4 inch of ice. It's, you know, use your best judgment. Let's see what else
We don't leave the heater alone with the airplane.
Unattended, that's on the,
Because if you
Yeah,
have a
we'll
fire,
figure that out.
then you got another problem.
An airplane's expensive.
neglect comes to mind there. Be liable for it. Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, one thing he said, I disagree with is, don't let don't open up the cabin vents to let the air in from the heating system in the front when you're blowing the air in, because your CO2 monitor is gonna say it's terribly high.
Yeah, the
Because-
CO monitor's gonna go black.
Turn black,
That's true.
Then you have to wait for it to turn brown again, and
Yeah,
let
you
it go.
wait another hour and it'll.
And then the engine will be cold.
Start.
I have something.
What you got?
Okay, they mentioned in the video -7 Celsius. Here, the Aero Club rule is 0. Also, we have, is it 2 planes that have a Tanis heater or just one?
Models.
0, 1, 1, and
273.
273. So we try to park them near the electric outlet, right?
Mhm.
And we hook them up. So
And
that's
so
all.
those-
That's
you
gonna
put your
happen this
hand-
week,
You
actually.
put your hand inside and just lay it on top of one of the cylinders, you can tell if it's working. Yeah.
Another thing, if you do use the tennis heaters, when you're done flying, make sure you plug it back in
Yeah.
and make sure it's connected tightly.
Another-
The cowl plugs back in.
Another thing with the Tanis heaters too, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll take the wing tie down and what's left of that, you might tie like a little square knot there and hang the wire up there. It's just an extra attention grabber so we don't have somebody rushing through a pre-flight because they're late to get airborne, the video, and they leave the Tanis heater plugged in, the next thing you know you're dragging an extension cord with you. It's been done.
Don't remember that.
But yeah, they touched on it too, dressing appropriately. We talked about this earlier, and he had a good saying there, it's dress to egress, right? So the area you're flying over, right now there's snow in the northern Appalachian chain. You're flying over there like me, I fly to Ohio a lot, right? So the plane goes down in the middle of the night and you're sitting out there in the snow, it gets cold pretty quick. So dress to egress.
You should live for that.
The last thing for me is the instrument course. Is anybody interested in getting their instrument rating or instrument refresher course? Got 1,
Pressure.
2, 3, 4.
You usually go.
Okay, yes.
You're not gonna go this
Davenport,
time? Doc?
Right.
Well, how many
So-
instrument students do we have right now? Doc's 1, you're getting ready to become an instrument, right? So we'll have 3, so that will help with the, because Casey he's a ground instructor now, and he's really wanting to put on a,
Guinea pigs.
kind of a guinea pig.
Well, Doc always said you go every time we have it, so do I. What's the price?
We don't know yet.
Okay,
That's the
you're
point.
still-
But we're trying to get everything
Yeah.
together to see how
All
many
right.
people will be interested. Because Casey would really like to teach an instrument refresher course and then go on from there.
I would start with private pilot, and then once you do one of those, then go to the instrument.
Okay. So that's
But
something we
instruments the
look at.
freshest on his mind, he just passed out.
Right. So that was more or less my plan. I got some dates written down here, right? I'd do it like December through February, because usually at the end of February, mid-March, the weather breaks, it's cloudy, it's good training weather for instrument pilots. And then I was gonna do a private pilot thereafter, and then, roll right into the summer. But we'll have to look at that. More or less the idea was for me to get practical experience instructing, and it'd be a cheap way for you guys to go ahead and get the rating, maybe buy the books and put together some kind of deal where, like in the past, you might get an hour of flying come the spring, or whatever the case may be, so it evens out for you guys. But more or less, the idea was for me to get practical experience teaching, and we can learn from each other, that kind of thing, and we go from there. But the first date that I had an idea would be December 7th and the 14th, it's Saturdays, and then it might be like a Saturday, Sunday kind of thing.
We can start a Saturday breakfast club.
Yeah, yeah, so just get people out here on the weekend, I think that'd be fun. Like our,
Don't interfere with the CAPs.
yeah.
Well, now you're the CAP. We're gonna have a fight in the parking lot.
Another nice thing that you do is use the simulator
Right,
to do some actual simulator.
simulated, yeah.
Iowa.
Yeah, speaking of the simulator, actually, since, the weather's turning crappy and you probably don't want to fly in the clouds when it's freezing, right? Visible moisture below freezing is not a good idea in our aircraft, but the sim back there, $25 an hour. Go in there, it's certified. If you're an instrument pilot, go back there. Why not go put your $25 in on a Saturday morning and go do an NDB approach, because you never do an NDB approach. Shoot a couple RNAs while you're out.
That's right, as long as they're current.
Yeah, as long as you're current, I'm sure you guys already know, but as long as you're current, you can use a simulator to keep your currency without an instructor
Yep.
for your instrument.
What time on the 7th?
I'd probably 8 o'clock. Do like an 8 to noon kind of thing, that's what I was thinking. Mornings.
Cool, I'm just trying to make plans.
Okay. All right.
Put that down.
December 7th, 8 o'clock.
All right. I'll put it on mine too, 8 o'clock.
Instrument currency.
You got it. What
Now
you got?
is this, you can sit in on this once in a while?
Yeah.
If you just happen to be here?
Yeah, sure. Sure. I'm all about that, Talk more or less would be a narrative discussion, We're gonna do the course and we'll knock that out. And I have the ability to sign people off now and kind of put that ahead, but, a narrative discussion is always good to bounce ideas off of each other. Yeah, anybody else got anything? Cool ideas, anything you did the last month, things coming up, holiday flights, that'll be next month, Christmas flights, but, Thanksgiving, nothing, no plans.
Volunteers?
Yeah, no, all right, that's all I got.
Cool.
Turn it over to
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, thanks, Casey. Right now, I'm gonna let Rich, you got anything you'd like to briefly?
Yeah.
You tell this is a CAP/Aero Club meeting.
I want to thank all the CAP members for coming out. Really appreciate the ones of you who aren't members of the Aero Club that came out. I also want to mention that yesterday we had Veterans Day, and we had a special ceremony, if you didn't know about it, down at Rehoboth. And the reason we have a ceremony at Rehoboth, along with all the other military services, is that there is a plaque. There's a monument there, right opposite the bandstand. If you haven't seen it, I'll be sending pictures out. And it is to commemorate the 4 CAP aviators who died during World War II flying coastal patrol looking and attacking German submarines. So it's something that even the mayor didn't know about. I talked to the mayor of Rehoboth and he said, I didn't know that. I'm like, this is your city, man, you don't know what the monuments are there. Anyway, so I wanted to bring that up to you. We do that every year. We do Wreaths Across America in conjunction with the Georgetown Squadron, and that's going to be on the 5th, I believe it is, the 5th of December. It's going to be at the Millsboro Veterans Cemetery right off of 113. And if you haven't gotten involved with Wreaths Across America, it's a national event that takes place all over the United States with every veteran cemetery there is. People volunteer ahead of time and they sell wreaths, or they get a contribution of $15 for a wreath. And then part of that money goes towards the organization that's sponsoring it. We don't do that in our squadron because we don't have cadets and so forth. But what we do is we'd like you to come out and help place the wreaths on the 5th. And it's at the Veterans Cemetery. And I'll be sending out more information on that as time gets closer. But it's a great event. There's people from all over. There's biker clubs come out. There's just civic groups. There's military groups, reservists. There's all kinds of different people show up to honor our fallen veterans. Okay? Our next meeting is a week from today, the 19th. And of course, we'll be meeting at our building, right over there. And what I plan to do is cover how you maneuver through e-services and GoCivilAirPatrol.com. It's a maze sometimes if you haven't done it. Even those who've done it for years and years tell me, oh yeah, well, I think it's here or I think it's there. It's kind of complicated because we don't work with it every day 24/7. But I want to go over some high points and get everybody's input on where these different things are that we need to know in e-services, especially into the training modules. There's a whole new training program that's in there, and I stumbled on it a few days ago. So that's what we plan to do. Any of my members have anything to add? Durham Friel?
No, sir.
Nothing, huh?
Nope.
That's a rarity.
Yep.
Everybody's in uniform standards.
You got to fly a Delta out yesterday.
I heard.
Yeah, that's right.
I heard.
First
He
Delta
was
in a
your right
couple
seat.
years.
And he brought
I
it
was in the
back.
back seat.
And you didn't jump out, yeah.
Exactly. All
Yeah, we
right.
actually even
Excellent.
spotted an accident up there near the Del Memorial Bridge.
There was an
Called
accident?
it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You're the one.
Want autographs it.
We can get them while we can still afford them?
Yeah.
Cam Shrigley?
Oh, good.
Nothing. You cover everything in safety, huh?
Yes, he did.
Did a great job, didn't he?
Sign off my first brief. Yep.
We're working on his
It's all about the
rating.
sign-offs, isn't it?
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Again, just want to thank you all. There's plenty of food. I don't think Mac's gonna throw us out right away, are you?
Yeah.
Huh?
Nope.
How much time we got?
5 minutes.
Another hour? 8:30? Yeah, seriously, there's plenty of food. Stay around, eat up. We'll play some music for you. And thank you. Thank you, Mac, for having us.
Yeah, so hopefully we can do this once a quarter. Get everybody together and have fun again.
I agree.
So the next Aero Club meeting is gonna be December 10th at 6:30, so everything is gonna be normal. And I would like to take a second, so who's the first meeting is this for the Aero Club members? Okay. Can you stand up and tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Hi everybody, my name is Sean Logan. I'm a private pilot. I finished college in Kent, Ohio. That's where I got my private pilot license as well.
How about that?
But more importantly,
I'm also a member of the Civil Air Patrol.
there you go.
This just came to mind.
Forget that.
Just finished out this one.
I'm also a paid performing stage magician, a lifeguard, foundry worker. I was in the circus for a little bit, and I was a cliff diving instructor, which is basically just standing there and telling people to cross their arms and point their toes when they go to the water. But this is by far my favorite job I've had.
Awesome. Thank you, and welcome.
All right.
So next time, you and Rich are gonna. That's awesome. And we have Miss Connie Sparks.
Hi. Thank you for coming. I appreciate seeing a lot of people here tonight. I'm the newest member. 30 October is when I joined. I was very, how would I say, ecstatic because I was happy about the ground school online, which is what I'm working on right now. I was stationed here at Dover Air Force Base, and I was in the military for 22 years. So I'm a Vietnam veteran. And my birthday was #1 for the draft, even though I wasn't a man or whatever that came in. But I wanted to be a nurse, but that didn't happen. So I'm really excited about the ground school online, and I think I'll have a lot of references and resources And you never know, I might come to you and see about your expertise as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think we're just gonna wrap it up, play a little bit more music, and you're free to hang around and talk and have some more food. Thanks again to everybody who brought something, I appreciate it. And yeah, so be safe and we'll see you on the 10th.
All right.